You will fail in your comfort zone. Success is not a comfortable procedure. It is a very uncomfortable thing to attempt. So you got to get comfortable being uncomfortable if you ever want to be successful. I'm sorry, but here's the fact. All of you have extraordinary capabilities. All of you. You have to decide if you are willing to do the things to put you in that category. Rich people don't sleep 8 hours a day. That's a third of your life. It ain't but 24 hours in a day. You cannot be sleep 8 hours a day. You can't live in LA and wake up at 8 o'clock in the morning. It's 11 o'clock on the East Coast. The stock market been open 2 hours. They already making decisions about your life and your ass was asleep. The Bible says, he who loves to sleep and the folding of hands, poverty will set upon you like a thief in the night. He who loves to sleep and the folding of hands, poverty will set upon you like a thief in the night. I'm gonna ask you one question, I'm gonna go. How many of you in here know somebody who loves to sleep? Who knows somebody that loves to sleep? Let me ask you something. Ain't they po?
Ooh. So that's pretty intense. And welcome back to another episode, everybody. This is Mark Jones, your host of Key Factors Podcast, and we are powered by ReviewMyMortgage.com. And many of you may believe that I'm an extrovert because of what you see on social media, because of the outlandish marketing tactics and trades that I actually do. But come to find out, I'm actually an introvert and love to be to myself working on things on the back end. But I had to get out of my comfort zone many years ago and found that it's pretty advantageous to get outside of your comfort zone. And my guest today, in my opinion, has pushed past her comfort zone on many occasions. And I want to have her on to share those events with you guys. So without further ado, I want to welcome Sandra Rangel. Sandra, how you doing?
Good. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And I'm excited about this because this is your first time, yes?
Yes.
And recently you started doing some videos, right?
I'm trying.
Okay. In my opinion, there is no try. You either do or you don't do, and you're doing.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So before we get into our topic of discussion, let's give you a moment to tell the folks who you are, where you came from, what you're about, all that good stuff, because some people out there may not know who you are, surprisingly.
Okay. So Sandra Rangel, I was raised on the west side of San Antonio, native to San Antonio. And worked my way up. I started working right from high school, senior year, Business Professionals of America. So I've always been having that work ethic and behind the scenes and constantly working to succeed. And from career to career, then all of a sudden I got my real estate license. I needed something more to do in my evenings. Mm-hmm. And then took it full time. Once I took it full time, then I started being out there, reaching out to people, growing. And little by little, I started a team kind of by accident. And it was more people trying to save on cost, office fees. Mm-hmm. And I needed the support because I was starting to get more business. And it's all about customer service when it comes to me. Right. And instant gratification. That was then and is still now. And so I said, well, let's team up and we can help each other. Then one thing led to another, then I had another friend that would be perfect. And I added another person to my team and someone else asked to be on my team. And I'm like, okay. So it kind of started like that. But I've always been the busybody, just doing what I love to do and keeping busy and helping people. And it's always what I love about real estate. It's one-on-one. Mm-hmm. I'm good at one-on-one.
Yeah.
Don't put me in front of a crowd or on a stage because forget it. And, but 15 years later, look where I'm at.
And 15 years in the industry. And in my opinion, she's being very, very modest in who and what she's accomplished thus far. So within her 15 years, you are the number one in our city as far as Hispanic realtors go. Is that correct?
Correct.
How did that happen? How did that come to be? Where, you started off on the west side. So let me ask you, what did you do prior to real estate?
So I was in banking.
Okay.
Then in banking, different, Frost Bank, IBC, USAA. Then I ventured into manufacturing.
Okay.
So I went to work for the Toyota Motor Manufacturing in Texas and worked towards my business degree, became a specialist there. And I always had 2 jobs. I had my full-time job and then a part-time in the evening. My husband worked evenings. So instead of going out and getting myself in trouble in the evenings, what do I do? What else can I do? So I finished my school. Then after that, then I started venturing into real estate. And it got to the point where I was like, I need to do this full time.
Yeah.
And so it worked out.
At about what time did you realize you needed to do this full time?
So working evenings and weekends, it was perfect because people work during the day. They're looking at houses in the evenings and the weekends. And so it worked. But as I was getting busy, I was like, I need more time. Mm-hmm. Then my concern was like, well, if I do this full time, am I going to have people I'm going to help during the day?
Right.
Because I hadn't had the need of somebody saying, hey, can you show me houses during the day, during the week? Mm-hmm. And so once I transitioned over, it started picking up where then I had clients that were off during the day, during the week, and I was kept busy. And so it started being okay.
Right.
But at first you're like, am I going to have enough business to
quit
get
my
on full
job?
time?
Yeah, to quit my job, take the leap of faith and go, I'm all in 100% commission based on me.
But I was lucky that Toyota at the time was giving severance packages because they were cutting back on overtime. And, that was slightly, the down market.
Right.
And since a lot of people were brought on with, you're going to get overtime time and a half, now Toyota felt that they're putting their employees in a certain situation. So they gave us options, either time off, retirement package, 6 months of severance package. And I came in from the bottom. I wasn't given a certain package in the beginning. So I worked my way up. Mm-hmm. But they also brought that opportunity to me. And so I was like, oh my God, this is perfect opportunity for me to take this package and run with something I'm already good at.
Sure.
My husband was like, I have faith in you, but the market, he was concerned about the market. And I was like, we don't have kids. We're okay. Mm-hmm. We're going to be good. And he's like, okay. And so once, they were expecting a yes or no, you're taking the package or not, I took it, and it's the best thing I ever did. And I feel that was the perfect opportunity for me to take this full time.
That's awesome. That's all. 15 years later, started from where you were. Now you're here.
Yes.
Right? Sitting on the podcast, doing something totally outside of your comfort zone.
Exactly.
Growth. And not scared to continue to step outside of that bubble, just kind of like Steve Harvey just talked about. Nothing really happens inside of the bubble. And there is an article that I read recently that talks about us as humans getting into a routine. And a lot of folks preach routine, 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 but there is no growth within a routine. Mm-hmm. And it gives an example of you driving to work every single day. At times, you'll start to get in your car and then all of a sudden you're at work. And it's like, what happened in between there? Nothing, because it becomes this minutia of repetition that you don't get any kind of stimulation in your brain from, that doesn't allow your creative side to come out. That doesn't allow any of the things that breed growth to actually grow. And I thought it was pretty telling, looking at agents, lenders, anybody self-employed, in my opinion, that if you are planning on doing something like that, you're going to have to get uncomfortable. You're going to have to fail. And a lot of folks are scared of failure. When you got into the industry and then made the leap of faith to go full time, were you terrified of failing?
Yes.
Yes,
because I'm leaving a corporate job, that helped me get my degree, and I'm just going to leave that all behind to go into real estate.
In a down market.
It's
crazy.
Yeah.
But you did it.
But I was like, I've always been a workaholic, and I felt like, you know what? If I work hard, I continue my practices, I will be fine. So I had confidence in myself that I'll be okay.
And I think that's where a lot of this starts, is having enough confidence in yourself. I can say having a great support system, but there's a lot of folks out there that don't have that support system. But it can be overcome by believing in yourself enough, I think. That being the case, when you transitioned, what was that like when you transitioned from part-time to full-time? Were you focusing on just buyers at the time because it was still new to you? What was that like?
Well, the thing is that I felt I had more control with buyers.
Okay.
I loved buyers in the beginning. I still love my buyers now.
Sure.
But in the beginning, I really didn't care to have listings because I felt, how can I make the public come and view my listing? How can I make that agent bring their buyer to my listing? So when I had a buyer, I love a challenge. Buyer tells me, what do you want? What time frame, what price, all that. Give me your wish list. I'm going to go find it.
Yeah.
So that's the mentality I had, is like, you tell me what you want, and I will do whatever I need to take, to
make it happen.
Make it happen.
And that's a mindset of finding a way, not an excuse. There's a football player or athlete that I once listened to speak, and his whole philosophy is find a way, not an excuse. And I think that folks don't take that as literally as they should. Find a way to make whatever it is your goal happen. Like you said, believing in yourself has to be the first part in that. It's a tough task to put the weight of the world on somebody's shoulders and say, go out there and be somebody.
Yeah.
Right? So having the support system, your husband in place, was that something that definitely helped you through getting uncomfortable? Because we're going to go on to a couple more situations to where I want to see what the uncomfort level in each milestone was like. But at that time, you'd mentioned he was like, go for it. What was that like?
I think that part was fine because I'm still dealing with the one-on-one with the clients. It's not until I started getting to the point where most of my business started becoming a referral. So-and-so needs to sell. I started building up my listings because of referrals, not because I solicit to sell. Because I felt, if I'm going to tell you, Mark, I'm the one to sell your home, then I'm holding myself responsible that I have to sell your home because I told you. That's, I guess I'm old school, where a handshake, I'm going to do the job because I'm the one. So if I'm going to tell you I'm going to do it, then I need to do it. So whenever it came as a referral, people are already saying, oh, she's great, she's good at what she does. Then that barrier wasn't there, and it was comfort, And once where I actually was being interviewed, then that's where the discomfort came. And I had to make sure I had my data, how I'm going to sell myself, because now I have to prove that I'm good versus somebody telling them that I'm good at what I'm doing.
Yeah, that's
so then that was, in a sense, the first time getting out of your comfort zone, because
it makes perfect sense too. I mean, and there's going to be plenty of new to the business realtors listening to this, wondering, when am I going to hit that first level of uncomfort? Because thus far, I think I'm doing all right. And in my opinion, if you haven't gotten uncomfortable yet, then you're not trying hard enough. Yeah. You're not pushing far enough. Because we as humans, it's incredible the things that we're capable of. If we believe in ourselves, we've got a plan put in place, and we go and put that plan into action. But yeah, I mean, that's totally, I can see that being, wow. Now, this one doesn't come with that inherent, I'm the expert, I can already do the job. Now I've got to sell myself, right? Yeah. So what were the things that you used to get through that? Because I'm sure after the first one, it wasn't the last one.
Correct.
Or you wouldn't be Sandra Rangel.
It's just basically preparation and being competent. When you go to any appointment, is knowing your market, knowing the data that you're going to present, and standing behind it. Because obviously sellers are going to say, my house is worth this much. And you just have to let them understand that this is data that I'm pulling. This is the history. So I'm not just telling you what you want to hear. This is what the market is dictating. Right. And then just go from there. At that point, it's just, you can tell them, okay, this is what we're going to do. This is the marketing package that I offer. and we can try to get where you want to be.
Right. And you mentioned something that I want to spotlight, which is there are things that you can do that could make you uncomfortable that don't involve other people. And you mentioned it, which is running the comps. And there's a lot of folks out there that are going to these listing appointments waiting for the seller to tell them how much they want to get for the home versus telling them how much their home is actually going to be able to sell for.
Correct.
Does that make sense?
Yes. Yes.
And I think that could be one of the first uncomfortable situations that someone could get through without involving anybody else.
Correct.
Run the comps. I mean, how important is that to you, being a seasoned veteran in this industry, a top producer? How important is that?
It's very important. I mean, even this past weekend, I went and assisted one of the agents that I know, and it was his first listing appointment. And so I told him I would go with him. And even that one seller was saying, well, we interviewed some other agents, and they were telling me that I could sell for 630, 640, 650, and all we could find was 580s. And I'm like, you know, I told her, I said, I invite you to give me that information, and I will research why they thought that comparable would be one comparable to your home.
Right.
You know, so now I get to the point where it's like, I'm glad that you're questioning and why one person is saying one thing versus another, and share that with me, and I will have a second look and give you my opinion, you know, and see if it is accurate or not.
My expert opinion, because I'm going to take this back to my office, run the comparables, and then get those comparables because I know how to digest that data. And I think that has been an echo that has been occurring here on this show, which is data, research, taking the extra step to do what most won't do.
Right.
And I see that in a lot of the things that you do. And lately, you've been doing things like getting in front of a camera, doing video, giving buyer, seller tips. And for me, knowing you personally, I know that's difficult. I know I know right now this is difficult for you, but you're getting through it because you're the expert.
Yeah.
You know? So going into that first kind of, it's time to get out of my comfort zone. You got through that, right? And then the next point, I would imagine, is when you started getting busy and it was time to give up to gain more. And what I mean by that is it's time to build a team. It's time to hire someone else to help me multiply my time. What was that like?
I liked it because I felt I didn't have, with real estate, there's so many moving parts, and you know, you want to make sure that it's like every, you know, business, everything's driven customer service. If you don't have good customer service, they're going to go somewhere else. So the last thing I wanted was to drop the ball and then basically that client not be happy.
Yeah.
And so within time, you start figuring out like there's plenty of business to go around. And so as I had my agents on my team, if there's deals that I didn't have time for, it's like, here, look, my plate is full, run with it, you know?
Right.
And so it feels good to be able to do that. But even having a team, even previous brokerage, I had agents that were trying to start a team, and they would ask those kind of questions. Well, how do you divide, you know, the leads, or who takes ownership of the lead? If you dwell on that, then you're not looking at things right, you know, to where I was like, you know what, if they built that relationship, that buyer or seller is going to have that relationship with that agent. How can I keep that lead, you know, as
in-house
to
absolutely.
say, well, any leads that come in here, either you work them or not, they're going to all be mine. If you leave the team, they're staying with me. That's not going to work. You know, it doesn't work that way. And I think that if you already start building that environment, feeling like, you know what, being fair and just like, hey, let's go out there and service the best we can. And I think by doing that, it kind of alleviates some things for me to do. But then you basically help your team, you know, help with your success. Then there comes the next uncomfort, you know, where then you start being recognized, and then you starting having to do a speech.
Oh yeah.
We're like, no, I don't want to have
get up there and do this for me.
I don't want to. I don't want that one, you know, award because I have to do a speech. Oh my God, that was the next nerve breaking. Yes.
What was that like?
Oh, it was nerve breaking, and also too because I'm very I'm very open. Like
Okay.
if you ask me questions, I'll share my business, my life, whatever. But when I have to dig deep about how I was raised,
Yeah,
it makes you more emotional.
for sure.
So having to share part of that, for the NAHREP, the first time I got number one,
Mhm.
it was hitting home.
Yeah.
And so it was like, okay, where's the tequila shot? I'm like, I need to loosen up. And, but it was different. And it's like, I'm being pushed to push me out of my comfort zone.
And
I'm
someti-
trying to accept it.
That's awesome. And sometimes you do need that little push.
Yeah.
Kind of like a Mark Jones that kind of
Yeah.
keeps poking at you like, you can do this. You
Yeah.
can do this. And now, before I continue forward, I want to go back to the building of the team piece, because a lot of folks ask me how you build a team. And we've
Mhm.
talked about it on the show before with other guests. And each answer is a little bit different, but they all kind of have the same core, which is I figure out what it takes for me to do me. And
Mhm.
all the other things I try and delegate or eliminate from my process. What was that like for you? Because it sounded like you took a leap of faith, made a decision, and ran with it, and it worked.
Yeah. I tend to do that a lot.
Yeah.
Where I have something in my mind and then it's just, I'll run with it. I feel like if you dwell on it too much, then it's not going to happen. Me, of course, a lot of people that are trying to start a team, sometimes financially they can't, add staff.
Mm-hmm.
But I started it with a part-time assistant, 4 hours, a day, maybe 3 days out of the week, just to see how much could I give her from my plate that she could do, not being licensed.
Right.
And then once you saw that, I'm giving her more, I can give her more, then you start adding them. If you get someone that's, flexible with the time,
Sure.
it worked out for me. And that's how I started first. Definitely, I think an assistant, because a lot of people are saying, oh, get a TC, get a TC. But a TC, if you're just paying a flat fee for a TC, all they're doing is contract to close.
Yeah.
But you need to understand, you need somebody to do all the little extra things that a TC is not going to do, because that might be taking most of your time more than the TC work.
Absolutely.
And so I think, in my opinion, that it really helped me having that TC, that assistant first. And then with time, I transitioned through a few. I did try the transaction to close TC as well, but I felt that I really needed more a full-time person versus just someone transaction to close. So I really think that if somebody has the means, then hire someone,
Right.
having that person. Right now I have a full-time assistant / TC and a part-time college student helping me with marketing and other things. So
Sure.
it works. They're on salary, and I don't feel that once they're done with that transaction, then that's the end of it.
Right. No, and that's great. And let me ask you, so I have a philosophy on teams, building teams, when you need a team, etc. But when you made the decision to add a team member, was it so that you could do less, or was it so you could actually do more?
It was more to help me with, because at that time when I first came in, I was buying some leads. I was part of this one called Market Leader.
Okay.
I think Zillow bought them out, but
Yep.
they were really good. And so they were sending me leads constantly, and I wasn't one to cold call or door knock.
Okay.
So in the evenings, I was doing all my prospecting, with the system. And during the day, I was doing my showings or whatever, out in the field. So out in the field was during the day, evenings was my prospecting. No problem with me because my husband works nights.
Right.
So didn't get home till like 10. So I could use my evenings to prospect 2-3 hours, a night. No big deal. It's not like I had to cook dinner and, take care of the kids and all that. So in the beginning, it's perfect. I threw myself in my business.
Mhm.
And so I set the foundation to where I needed to. Now, obviously, it's like your time, you have structures and adding and things like that. But I think in the beginning, if, I see so many single guys or girls, and I'm like, right now, you should be killing it. You
Right.
don't have those responsibilities. It's like, take advantage of it and not be, oh, well, I need to have my 1 hour at lunch, and I need to have my gym time. I need to have this. And, time blocking those things, your business first.
Yeah, your priorities are out of whack, sounds
Yeah.
like.
And so, when I get a hold of someone young like that, and I'm like, okay, what are you doing all day? Give me your schedule and I'll tell you how to fix it.
That's awesome.
But I think that's really important, especially in the beginning when you're just starting real estate, because everyone thinks it's so easy. No, it's not easy. You have to put in the hours.
Yeah.
It's not, I tell everyone, you put in 40 hours for corporate. Why are you not putting 40 hours for your own business?
Good point. Good speech. That's going to be like a can right there for sure. So my philosophy, and I follow what Gary Vee kind of has to say about teams and building a team, it has to do with talent versus numbers.
Mm-hmm.
And he basically says there's no reason to add people to your team to solve an equation that's not working.
Mm-hmm.
Get your business to where it's actually working. Whatever you're doing, it's working, and you just don't have the time now. So the team member is intended to give you back more time so you can go do what you do best.
Correct.
You're probably not the best, just like me, at doing paperwork stuff and things. I don't want to do office stuff. I want to go meet people, shake hands, kiss babies, that kind of stuff. Close deals, make commitments to people. I mean, I can continue going on what we do, but the idea behind it is there are some folks out there that will add team members to appear like they are growing, to appear that it's going to help their business, and their business wasn't already doing well to begin with. Does that kind of follow?
Correct.
Whereas in your case, what you were doing was working. You were busting your butt and maximizing your time as much as you possibly could, and went, okay, I can't do this by myself anymore.
Correct.
And then delegated the things that you knew you did not actually have to have your hand on to someone that you could train, coach, mentor. And I'm sure, just like myself and all the others that I've had here that I've talked about this with, we're constantly shifting, recreating, losing folks, replacing folks.
Constantly evolving. There's always change. Like, I'll have people, all this time, come and go, agents. And the good thing with my team and my past team is that we're still friends. Right. And I always tell anybody that comes on my team, say, look, while we're working together, let's go out there and help and do the best things we can do. If you feel it's time for you to, leave the coop, then let's find an exit strategy. I mean, there's one agent, I think you know him, Jacob Delgado.
Yeah.
When he came on my team, he left the new home sales because I guess that builder had left San Antonio. And I had him come and talk to my broker. Oh, yeah, great, come talk to my broker. Well, I didn't realize he was going to ask me to, hey, well, I want to be on your team. But because he wanted to learn, because he wanted to start a team.
Sure.
So we set like a timeline, okay, a year or two, and then he's going to phase out. But we had that understanding. And I know that there's a lot of teams that they get hurt when a team member leaves and it's like, oh, you learned everything from me and then you leave. But is this about growing everyone and collaborating? I mean, I still have agents that left my team that'll call me and ask me questions and advice. And I have no problem picking up the phone, answering and guiding them because you're still my friend,
Well, I'm glad you said that. It allows me to say the following.
Let me add to that.
I believe that there's a lot of folks out there that claim to be leaders, but they're not. Because you're in a position of power does not automatically make you a leader.
Sure.
I think the actions that you take, the purpose, the reason behind what you're doing makes you a leader. The leader is the first to jump into battle and the last to eat type situation. Yeah. And our goal is to share what we have here and have experienced. And the way I put it is, I don't want you guys stepping on the same potholes I did. Why? Because you can see I'm already cut off at the knees. Type
Learn
situation.
from my mistakes. Yeah.
But there's a lot of folks out there that, again, do it for the facade of having a team appearing like they're growing. And then the ones like you talked about that go, you learned everything from me. Well, wasn't that the goal?
Yeah.
I mean, were you not supposed to teach them everything?
Yeah.
And I guess the first go around in mortgage, my first several years, my mentor at the time kind of kept things in the dark from me. I wanted to learn the back end. I wanted to learn how these things worked. And truly, I think it was one of the situations to where he could not trust, and he did not trust the fact that if he would to give this valuable information, that it wouldn't be used against him. Whereas I'm the type of person, you give me that information, I'm now indebted to you because that's valuable information.
Exactly.
So it's just one of those things that I think needs to be said. And whoever's listening, share it with somebody because maybe they need to hear it.
Yeah.
And that's a great, great point that you have there. So talking about the getting uncomfortable, how important is that for someone?
I think it's important because obviously we hold ourselves back.
Yeah.
And we think, like with the videos, like you said, I'm starting to do videos. And, I've been with my new brokerage real about 1.5 years now. And I feel that they do a lot of video YouTubes and all that. And obviously I feel, I'm about to be 50 years old here. I'm like,
No.
that's not like my thing. But I know that I need to keep up with the Joneses. And and so I need to do things that I'm going to be, somewhat comfortable with and see myself doing, and not just doing it just to do it to appease the public, but do it, but am I comfortable doing it?
Right.
It's still a little uncomfortable, but still doing it. So I knew I wouldn't get in front of my own camera and start doing it. So then I hired a videographer.
Okay.
So now he sets the days and I'm going to meet him, and we're doing 4 short videos. And I come with what I'm going to say, and he's pressuring me to get through them quick.
Yep.
Yes, because if not, I'm going to be like, okay, no, I didn't like that. Oh, retake. I'm my worst enemy. And
That's
so
why you can't see yourself on anything that you have over there.
that's how I keep staring at you.
Everything intentionally.
But it's that thing. I know my weakness. I know I'm not going to do it if I say I'm going to do it. So what am I going to do? Then I'm going to hire somebody to make me face my uncomfort, be uncomfortable. So that's what I knew I had to do. So we've already done 2 sessions, but I did it. Like you said, I did it. And then you're like, whew, I'm done.
Even more importantly, you know that about yourself. You can be honest with yourself to say, man, in these uncomfortable situations, knowing I actually need to do this to progress not only my business, my career, but also me as a person in growing.
Correct.
I've got to have somebody to hold me accountable, even if it's something as small as making some videos that look fantastic and have some great information in them. But it's one of those things that, yeah, you can say, you know what, I'll do it. I will do it. I'll write my script, and then I'll do it. I promise I'll do it.
But it's neat.
But if you make that commitment for money, now it's got to happen.
Yeah. But it's nice too, because, obviously, you have your sphere, your friends and all that. And, your closest friend's always going to say, oh, yeah, it's great. It's great. But, when you hear from people saying, you know what, I've noticed you've been doing a lot of video. And I'm like, oh, you noticed? I'm like, yeah, I just started, and then somebody else also. And, so then you're like, okay, these aren't my friends that are going to tell me what I want to hear. These are people saying like, yeah, I noticed you're doing a lot more. I'm seeing a lot more on my Facebook feed. And so then that kind of reassures me, like, just keep doing it. It's working. If they're seeing you, others are seeing you. And it's tips pretty much that I'm trying to share, with my past clients or even possible future clients. So what am I so afraid of?
I agree. No,
just do it.
But it is something to be afraid of because it's out of your comfort zone. Yeah. You didn't wake up one day and go, you know what? I think I need to start doing videos because I'm good at videos. That's not how it works. Matter of fact, I started doing this podcast and had no clue that I was going to continue, truly.
And that you're going to be good at it.
I think. But really, I mean, it's one of those things that you look back and you go, oh my gosh, I can't believe that I'm here doing this in this skin. Mm-hmm. And then you've got people going, hey, are you doing any more of those? After I've already kind of made the decision that was, let's do 1 season. It took a little bit away from what I do for a living and what I'm trying to grow. And then you get the requests, hey, are you going to come out with any more episodes? And you're like, wait a minute, you were listening?
Where's the next one?
You were listening. Okay, cool. It gives you that confidence, just like you're saying. Mm-hmm. So I can definitely relate to that. And it's a good feeling, especially when you are the expert. You're the expert in what you do. And I had a talk with John Story, and I don't know if you know him. He's a kind of a motivational speaker, coach, used to be in the title business, lives in Arizona, but I had him on the very last episode of the last season, and he talked a lot about cataloging and documenting what you do. in a very simple way. And it makes perfect sense because just like you mentioned, these are all topics that you have on a daily basis with your customers. You're answering these questions. You're giving this same advice over and over and over. So why not document it so that you can then catalog it and say, hey, you got a question? Great. Here's my catalog of all the things that you can use to educate yourself from somebody that you know, like, and trust.
Exactly.
Right?
We go to Google to search everything, right?
And who knows who's behind Google, you know? Google everything. And I like to say you can find whatever you're looking for in Google, right or wrong.
Yeah.
So yeah, be careful with that. So I've got an article that I saw. Let's see if I can get to this. Here it is. And it had 4 steps of managing discomfort. Now, I haven't read this yet. I just figured it'd be fun to kind of pick this apart and say, do you think that this is true, false, or who knows, right? What do you think?
Let's figure it out.
Okay, here we go. It says 4 steps to managing discomfort. Number 1, get a clear head. It says, when you're feeling uncomfortable about something, it can seem like there's a drum beating inside your mind. There's no way to make a sound decision when you feel like this. So you need to clear the noise. The best way to do this is different for every person, but it could take a form of reading, a good conversation, an old friend, or quiet meditation. And I'm going to add to that a shot of tequila. What are your thoughts on that?
Perfect example when I was going to do the first videos that we were going to do, and I kept being giddy like I was here when I walked in, like, oh my God. Then I kind of just like, Sandra, snap out of it. Just take a deep breath. You got this. It's kind of like just talk yourself like out of your nerves. Yes. So I think for me would be more the self-talk and being like, you got this.
And a lot of folks think because I do this on a regular basis that I'm not nervous at all when I do this.
You're not. Most
of the time, I'm trying to convince the other person, don't be nervous. That's my get through the nerves, 100%. So sometimes I'm in here and I'm going, hey, don't be nervous, don't worry. And they're like, I'm not.
But you know what? That's true. Because it's easy for me to tell someone else to do it and try to calm them and me to add in or jump in because I didn't have time to be nervous.
That's so true. And that's my technique, truly. And I used to give a lot of speeches and seminars, education classes, things of that nature. And people were like, how are you able to get up there and do it? And truly, it was tough for me in the beginning because I'm not your extrovert like people think. I've learned how to become or be extroverted in situations, but every single time I'm nervous. Every single time I've used things like holding on to a pen the whole time or playing with something in my pocket.
Wow.
And now I kind of go into a room, no matter how big or small the room, and start talking to people directly. Just instantly, let's start some conversations.
It's like practice.
So therefore, it's starting to bring the nerves down. They're starting to get to know who I am, get to know who they are. Somebody tells a funny joke. If they don't, then I will. I mean, and then before you know it, it's time to start.
Yeah.
And now you're off to the races. Right. So I thought that was, I think that is a pretty clear number 1. Clear your head. So number 2 is identify the source. Let's see what this is. It may be completely evident to you what a source of your discomfort is. What you may not be able to immediately recognize is why you feel this way. What it is about the situation that triggers these feelings. Are you terrified of rejection from the first outreach email? Are you embarrassed about being on camera and exploring the videos? Do you need to pitch an investor into suffering from imposing syndromes? It says, I can guarantee that scaling and growing a business is going to be a source of discomfort for a lot of entrepreneurs. Change can be difficult, a difficult pill to swallow for anyone, especially when the business you started that's been operating just fine and growing suddenly needs to change. And that's very true. And then it says, just because you're successful building a small business doesn't mean that you'll be successful in a big business. And this was Robert Kiyosaki that mentioned this. And that's a good point. And then it says, lastly, the key is to recognize where it's coming from so you can legitimize and act accordingly. That leads to the great rewards. So it's essentially finding the source of why you're feeling this way in the situations. And that one, I don't know if I agree with or if I even go through that, and maybe I should. What are your thoughts?
With mine, I think it's more of I grew up in a low, income area. Schools weren't great. I never thought I was going to get my degree, and it was after in life. First one to get my degree in my family. So it's like with time, things, you start trying to level up a little bit and do better. So I don't know, maybe it's just the fear that how I come across. Like whenever I have to do something, publish something, I have my past friend, agent, she's a PR, person. I'm like, Priscilla, this is what I'm trying to say. Can you clean it up for me?
Yeah.
So I just feel like I don't come across polished, because that's not my intent.
Sure.
Like I can pour into you my feels and you can feel me, when we're talking, but to put it on paper or come out like, politician, your proper speech and all that, I think maybe that's my problem, that I feel, how am I going to sound? How am I going to come across? Did I, the point that I was trying to relay, did it come across the way I was thinking in my head?
Right.
I think I'm just so worried about how it's going to come across. Then I think that's more my fear of speaking and doing all that. And I think that might be my issue.
And that does make sense, because in your situation, you are the expert. You've probably been in more uncomfortable situations than most and don't even realize it, because at that time, you're the expert. The question you're asked, the situation that you're being put in is a situation that you've either been through already or you know how to handle mentally.
Correct.
Then when it comes to starting to open your mouth, you go, oh gosh, did that sound right? I have a horrible habit, and I don't know if it's horrible or not, of saying, does that make sense?
Yeah.
I say that like nobody's business, but when people ask, why do you say that so much? My reasoning is I don't want to have to re-explain myself. And if I happen to talk over your head, or if I talk under your head or what have you, or if it sounds like I'm a moron,
you don't want to lose them later. You want to know now.
Absolutely. Yeah. I don't want to catch you up after I've already explained it all the way. So at certain points, I need to make sure that we're on the same page.
Correct.
But I'm getting better. Some would say it's demeaning or something like that, because it's like, you're talking to me. Of course, I know it makes sense, but I want to make sure. And I haven't found that right word to kind of replace it with yet. So let's go into number 3 out of these 4. Number 3 is reflect. Think about another time when something you did brought up similar feelings or discomfort. How did that play out for you? This is the opportunities to celebrate the small wins you previously had and remind yourself of the growth that comes from previously uncomfortable situations. At the same time, think about those situations that were similar feeling and the actions led to what you might deem as a failure. And it says, Dr. Martin Seligman, founder of positive psychology, once said, it's not our failures that determine our future success, but how we explain it to ourselves. And I think that kind of makes a lot of sense in the instance that kind of what you're talking about. You know exactly what you need to say, but did you say it right?
Correct.
Did you say it on their terms? Did you make sure to give the context to the explanation prior to, or do you assume that the other person is on the same wavelength as you? And in our mind, instantly, we're like, dang, I may have not explained that correctly. Knowing damn well you did, and you did a great job at it just about every time, but that's just something that we have innate. Would you agree?
Exactly. And it's kind of like, not that I'm trying to be a motivational speaker, things like that, but who's going through what I'm going through that would be a perfect speaker, but because of your fears, you're holding yourself, back
Mhm.
from being that person you could be.
That's so true.
So,
That is so true. And all of this in regards to fears and conquering these discomforts make you great. You, Sandra Rangel, make you great. Just so you know, okay? And then number 4, which in my opinion is the best one, which is take the plunge. It says many times there are so much you want to do and you have so many ideas that you want to explore that you struggle to take action on any of them. This discomfort, fear, and uncertainty paralyzes you. That's the point where you start listening to doubt and others. The voices in your head become breeding ground for negativity. Would you agree with that?
I think so, but like we talked the other day, I'm like a horse with the blinders, and I just try to stay positive as much as I can. I'm one that's always going to take a negative to the positive. It's like I look at the bright side of things because it could be worse.
It absolutely,
Everything, it could be worse. So,
Kristen, my wife, says that all the time.
mhm.
It's like, oh,
So-
you had a bad day? Well, could have been worse.
yeah,
It's
I-
like, yeah, you're right. Let me
Yeah.
put my smile on.
yeah.
And it's true. Mark Zuckerberg, this last one finishes with, Mark Zuckerberg once said, the biggest risk is not taking any risks in a world that's changing really quickly, and only strategy that is guaranteed to fail is not taking any risks at all. And I have to agree with that.
I have to agree with that too. If not, I wouldn't be where I am today.
Amen to that. Truly. Well, let's see here. How are we on time? We're doing good on time. You've been here for 40 minutes.
Really?
Yeah, just like that. I felt like you just sat down, right?
Yes.
So at this time, I want to see, is there anything that you want to share with our listeners in way of advice, in way of, I'm not going to ask any current market questions, nothing like that. But I will pry a little bit into your business. I mean, you guys have done some incredible things, and you being the leader of the Sandra Rangel team, how do you continue to shape, shift, and move with this market? I won't ask you about the market, but I'm going to ask you what you're doing with this market.
Basically, every call that comes in, run with it. We're really big with client care. That's our big thing, is that our client appreciations. Obviously, during COVID, we couldn't do, gathering, but, think outside the box. And what could we do? We did a VIP takeout dinner for the family. So people could still drive by, walked out to the car, gave them a family pack.
And this is for your customers?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
My clients. So I was like, what can I do to still connect with them? And that was towards the end where people were trying to come out that some of my clients were like, well, can we eat in the restaurant? I'm like, absolutely. If you're comfortable with that, we're going to have, a place for people to sit too. And so it was like 50-50. Some did the curbside. I walked out, said hi, and our mask and all that. And then some came in and sat down, they're ready to get out. And so, it's just still keeping that relationship even after the transactions. I think that's really important, especially right now.
Mm-hmm.
And just doing that and just keep going.
You got to keep
You
going.
got to keep going. You can't, like I told you, I don't like listening to the news. I don't like hearing all the negative, because if you listen to that, then it's going to bring you down. Then you're going to worry. And then you're going to start feeling like, well, what I do, should I get a job? Should I stop real estate? Because you don't know what to think. And if you're going to let the market dictate how you're feeling and, leave, the real estate and go get a job, then that's not what you should have done. I just look at it as just keep looking forward, keep, hustling, and just continue to take care of your clients. And that's why I'm starting to do videos and reaching out to my clients by video, by phone, by, client events. Just had a client event this past, 2 weekends ago. So you get to see them all over again, and, just trying to keep those relationships strong.
That's awesome. Being able to keep up with them and knowing that you need to do that in order to stay relevant, in order to keep the phone ringing. And that being said, I want to ask you point blank, do you believe that the market is changing? And I don't mean from a sales price or seller buyer. I'm talking about from a real estate standpoint of how you obtain customers. And I know you guys do a lot of referral business, but you've got to do new business or else you wouldn't continue to grow.
Correct.
Do you believe that our market is changing, has changed, or is the old way of doing things still relevant?
It is. I actually was talking to the girls the other day that it's kind of reminding me when I first came into the business where my listings were sitting
Mm-hmm.
and they're sitting now and not moving as fast as we're accustomed to.
Right.
That kind of gave you that feeling again, like this is how I felt back in the beginning where I loved the buyers because then I could control it and go and close my buyers.
Sure.
Because how can I make these, agents bring their buyers to my listings? So it kind of gave me that feeling that it's reminding me from when I first started in the business.
Right.
So same thing then. You just have to kind of move things around and start shifting more with your buyers and still have your sellers. But, I think also it's hard that these sellers are transitioning from this shift to list.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're telling them about how they should be pricing, they're still thinking the mentality when it was a seller's market and the multiple offers, a few months ago. So right now, the listing agents are feeling that growing pains, and that's what I like to call them right now, that I'm having to grow with my seller to explain to them, like, listen to me, like I told you, and had one seller where we had a full offer, 2 days, the first buyer then said, oh, we listed too low and I'm not accepting the cash, offer. Then we raised the price and now 3 months later, it's sitting.
Wow.
So it was during that transition and I'm like, oh, why did we do that? But it's, they understand and they're like, oh, I know I should have accepted, but let's not,
Right.
go there, let's move forward. So you're trying to help guide them, but it's just like, but I told you so,
Yeah.
like
It's difficult.
And I think that's the hard part with, having listings, educating these sellers because you do, but helping them understand, like, I'm not just telling you to price it low to get it sold quick. We shift it,
Yeah.
now there's a lot of things that buyers are a little uneasy and, should they wait, should they not? And so that's what I'm seeing.
Right.
There is change. Yeah. And
So the fact that you've got a couple of listings sitting, and I think you mentioned it just a moment ago, but I want to make sure that I get a clear answer on this is, do you believe it has a lot to do with price as to why they're sitting? Or do you believe that it has to do with a seller that is not as serious as they appeared to be, if that makes sense?
I think, hearing from different agents as well, I think there's a mix because I have that one high dollar one that happened. Then I have another one, which off of 604 and Bandera, great area, gated community. We priced the higher end of it, but not overpriced. Well, we've already done 2 price reductions.
Eesh.
So now we're like 20,000 below. Well, why is it not moving?
Right.
Nice, clean home, gated community, great location. Why is it not moving?
Mm-hmm.
So
that's a
what
good
do
question.
I blame it on? So I have both
You're now
sides
20
of it.
20 grand below what the market is telling you it should come in at. But the others that you have dropped did sell. So what's going on with these couple or whatever the case?
Correct.
And I think that's where, kind of like the first episode that we aired on here with Robert and Stephanie, to where it's confusing. It's tough to give expert advice without telling them, let me preface with, this is kind of confusing, okay?
Yeah.
Take a seat.
Like you said, you used to be the expert. Are you still kind of the expert when the market's doing something little different?
I think as long as you give disclaimers like, this is going to sound a little confusing. And I may contradict myself a little bit.
Exactly.
But I promise I know what I'm talking about.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. Well, let's see here. I don't want to grill you on much. I think this has been a fabulous conversation.
Thank you.
Very insightful and I think that it gives that realtor, that lender, that even person starting their own business a little bit of confidence to see and hear about your background, how you became who you are today and who you're still growing into. And they can relate to that. I think a lot of folks can relate to that because they only get to see the numbers. They only get to see the listings. They only get to see the Facebook posts that most of them prior to recent were very still pics, right? Now it's action. You're talking.
Yeah.
You're letting them know that not only are you the expert, but I'm going to educate you. And I'm going to give this free advice. And I think that is a lot to do with the shift in our market, not buyer to seller, but shift in our market from the use of technology, ease of access, the actual who's buying, who's selling. Our buyers and sellers are getting a little bit younger, and even the older sellers are being acclimated and equipped with the technology and cell phone thing. I mean, gosh, TikTok, I don't participate in it, but I manage it from the back end that my loan officers do. But I think a lot of folks are getting into that kind of stuff. And is it to fill their time? It doesn't matter to me, but as long as they're using it, great, we're going to be on there too. Exactly. But it shows that our market is changing. The way that we do business is changing.
You need to keep up.
And you've got to keep up. And in order to keep up, you've got to get uncomfortable.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
So full circle. I think we can wrap this up, but I want to give you a moment to give the listeners any kind of advice, whether it be advice for new realtors to the business, whether it be advice for agents out there, other Hispanic agents. I mean, the floor is yours. What kind of advice would you give?
I would just say, reach out to different people. I know I've reached out to many successful teams even now, and you're always learning. And, I don't know of any agent out there or any team lead that if somebody approached them and say, hey, can I have a few minutes of your time? I'm sure they probably would be, very fascinated, be like, oh, wow, you want advice from me, to see what kind of advice they can share, and if you're having struggles, I know I'm still growing and struggling. I've reached out to some team leads and they make time to talk to me and tell me how they're working their business and how maybe it might work for me. So I just think don't be afraid to ask, another agent. I don't know of any agents out there, at least agents that I talk to, that are too good to make time to answer some questions to a new agent or a seasoned agent. So.
And that's great that you say that because it gives, some people need permission.
Yeah.
Sometimes people need permission from themselves to say no to certain things. And you're giving them permission right now to do exactly what we do all the time, which is don't be scared, get out of your comfort zone and ask the other side. Reach out for your lifelines. And in most cases, I've found that someone that is an expert, someone that is in the position that you're intending to learn about, they're more than happy to share.
Absolutely.
It's like, hey, thanks for asking. I've been trying to tell this stuff to my wife and she just won't listen or whatever the case, but you've only got so many outlets to be able to express and give back what you've experienced. So I'm glad that I'm going to continue this platform to be able to do that for other people.
Awesome.
And I think that the key factors that we can take away from this are definitely getting out of your comfort zone is not easy. It's not intended to be easy. That's why at the end of that, it's called growth. You are now a better person, a faster person, a much more knowledgeable person. But keep in mind, once you grow past that initial comfort zone, you've now got a new bubble that you need to push past yet again. I think with the nuggets that we have in here, people can actually take this and apply it to what they do. I want to give you the opportunity to let folks know how they can get a hold of you should they need to. How would they do that?
You can go to my website, sandrarangel.com, or Instagram, sandrarangel2018, and go like my page.
There
and
you go.
My cell number, 210-334-7717. If you need some words of wisdom, advice, feel free to reach out.
There you go. So guys, I really appreciate the feedback that we're getting on these episodes. I will continue to get out of my comfort zone to provide you guys with enough value that hopefully can change your life. Thank you for tuning in. We'll catch you on the next one.
Thank you.